I love you no matter what. And the reason why I ask them to say that is because kids who have a tendency to be hypercritical will say, they will finish that sentence. I love you, but if you really knew who I was, you wouldn't. So that's why I ask the friends and colleagues and people that I teach, you have kids. It doesn't make any difference even if you have kids. If it doesn't make any difference who you're dealing with. Just tell them I love you no matter what. Because then they can't fill in the sentence any other way. And they know there's no bars that is a barrier between you and them. That love transcends that. So what about suicidality and how did it start with me? Well, like I said, I felt like I was on the outside looking in. I felt different. I felt strange. I felt invisible. And I just couldn't hardly deal with that. I just finally decided I just didn't want to be here. And I've discovered in my research with other people who have been suicidal or who are suicidal and recovering from it now, they all have that feeling in sometime in their life, whether it be childhood, adolescence, or young adulthood. They come to the conclusion that they really cannot bear the circumstances that they're in. And they start thinking about not wanting to be here. And not wanting to be here automatically brings a sense of relief. And that is simply that because you have a hope that things will change, that you have a hope that you can get some relief by simply not being here. And it kind of makes a lot of sense that your brain would do that, right? Kind of makes a lot of sense because if you can't remove the problem and you're powerless and you can't remove the problem, what can you remove? Yourself. Of course. Doesn't that make sense? So, and just the thought of being able to remove yourself and be free of the problem brings on a rush of endorphins and dopamine and all of the neurotransmitters in your brain that bring on a sense of relief. It's the same relief you get when you feel sick and you call the doctor and you make an appointment at the doctor and then all of a sudden you don't feel sick anymore. And you wonder, well, what happened? Well, that's your brain responding to a sense of pain and a sense of need for relief. And so your brain says, well, let's rush some endorphins to that brain. Let's relieve that pain so we don't go into shock. And your brain doesn't know the difference between physical pain and emotional pain until it gets further information because they share the same neural pathways in the brain. So if you get dumped by your girlfriend, or if you stub your toe, your brain doesn't know it until it gets further information. That making sense? Are you following me? Great. Well, the important thing there to know is that it was reinforcing to think about not being here. When I thought about not being here, I felt better. So why not keep thinking that? So after a while, you think about 2 or 3 years of that, and after a while, just thinking about not being here wasn't really giving me the relief. And that is simply because my brain was getting used to those endorphins and it needed more. So I started thinking about not being anywhere. And that started bringing some endorphins. And I started thinking about not being anywhere anytime in the future at all. And from that, started to plan, how was I going to make that happen? So it's a progression that's a very long progression sometimes, and this is what people don't get. Kids, when they're first exposed to the experience that someone might have killed themselves, the first thing they learn is that no one wants to talk to them about it. And sometimes, the schools won't even bring in somebody to talk to them. And if they do, they're very careful about what they say because, they don't want to bring more stigma down on the family. They certainly don't want to make it worse because everybody's in a lot of pain. They don't want to make it worse. So what we tell the kids is, this person is now out of pain. Their problems are over. He or she is with Jesus. They're in the lap of the Lord. Well, when I was 8 years old, if you told me that I could be with Jesus and in the lap of the Lord, I'll tell you what, that was an incentive for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? When we tell kids that, we're actually giving them an incentive. It's true that they are in the lap of the Lord, but when you tell a little mind that's developing over time that this is what they can look forward to, if eventually they kill themselves, what are we really telling? What's the message we're giving them? To tell them the truth age appropriately, to say, well, Uncle Ben took his life. He was in a lot of pain emotionally and did not know that he could go and get help, did not realize that he could ask people for help. Now, if you ever get in a situation where you feel like you've got a problem and you can't solve it, you can always come to me. Or you can go to your daddy, or you can go to your school teacher, you can go to someone you trust, or your pastor, or whoever. You can go to them, and if they can't solve the problem themselves, they will find someone who can. And if you come to me, I will not let that lay until we have a problem solved. And you can rely on that. You will never have to solve those problems alone. I will always be there with you. You can always call on trusted others. So how do we get to the point where people can't come to us when they feel like they want to kill themselves? Why do they shy away? Well, it's simply because so many of us are afraid we'll say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. And it's rightfully so, because no one like me has ever been here in your life to tell you what to say and what to do and how to act and how to accept compassionately this person's feelings. No matter how long they've been harboring those suicidal thoughts, no matter how many times they have tried to kill themselves, you can still compassionately lift them up in the Lord. And you can lift them up in your heart. You can help them solve problems, and you can advocate for them. You can become part of an individual support team for them. And that's what I do for a living now. I actually form individual support teams for people who are suicidal. And that person who is suicidal is the center of the support team. They drive the support team. They are in the driver's seat of that car. And what I encourage is education around this. So I have a whole program that tells people how to do this. And that's what Christine was mentioning. Pastor Christine mentioned the fact that I have a community response and outreach program that I teach individuals in the community how to help people. And here's the most important thing, is that all throughout my suicidality, I never gave up my faith in the Lord. I never did. What I realized a long time, for a very long time, I really felt like God had really sort of forsaken me. And what I realized later on was He was waiting for me to get up. He was waiting for me to stand up. He was waiting for me to do like, what I say, get with the right doctors, with the right people, and do the right thing. And then the Lord put me with some people who, when I told them I was suicidal, they were willing to help. They didn't know what they were doing any more than I did. But I based my Jensen Suicide Prevention Peer Protocol, that support team, on what they did for me and what we learned in that experience. But like I said, I never lost my faith in the Lord. I did think at some times that He might have forsaken me. But the choice was in how long could I hang on. I needed to hang on until the time came that He was ready to uplift me and teach me what I needed to know. And that's what I did. And if you do have the option to download my book or read my book in actuality, I hope that you spend some time in that section where I talk about how I was uplifted and how I was literally told that there are a zillion answers to every problem. Because in my life I had begun to think that there was only one right answer. And there are a lot of people that still believe that. There's only one way, one right way to do things. And what I learned is there is a bazillion ways to do everything. So I was asked a long time ago, I was asked, how would you teach a kid that there's a bazillion answers to every problem? Well, I would simply ask the child, how many ways can you come up with the answer for? When you think about it, there is an infinitesimal way to come up with the answer for. You cannot stop coming up with the answer for. Because until the day you lay down, there will always be another way to come up with the answer for. Are you getting me? It's so very important to understand it. You know what's interesting is that I watch a lot of these shows, these makeover shows where you sell this house and all that stuff. Where they go to the consignment barns and they go through all they're trying to find this perfect lamp. And the decorator goes, "Oh, this is a nice lamp, but it's too expensive." And as you go over here and go to the next place, "Oh, this is a great lamp, but it's the wrong style. It's the right price, but it's the wrong style." And she goes to another place, she goes, "Okay, this one's the right style, the right price, but it's too big." Then she finally goes to another place and she says, "Hey, this one is pretty much the right style. It's pretty close to the right price. It's the right size. We'll get this one." Individuals that keep looking for ways to live their lives in new ways and be challenged in new things and finding new ways to solve problems buy the last lamp. People who are suicidal, who have had doors slammed in their face one day after the next, being told, shamed, and blamed, and told over and over again that they are less than, they buy the first lamp. Am I making sense?
Yep.
We buy the first lamp. And we try to settle for the first lamp, and it's not right. It'll never be right. So what I teach is, if you can't come up with the right answer yourself, or if you can't come up with an answer, I'll bet your neighbor, your friend, your pastor, your church, your community organization, your fraternal organization, I bet if you ask them, they could help you come up with the answer. They might be able to come up with you so many answers, you would be buried in answers, and you would be uplifted through that. But let me ask you this. When someone asks you for help, how does it make you feel? Makes you feel good? Makes you feel honored. I'm honored. When someone asks me for help, I'm initially very honored. Because that means they trust me. That I could actually help them. And maybe if they think I can't help them, I'll bet they think that I won't give up on trying to help them. I'm not going to give up at the first turn, at the first brick wall. I'm going to try and find a hole in that wall and I can squeeze through. You know? Follow me? So it's important that people understand that if you are compassionate towards them and their fears about how to live their life and how to find answers to their problems, that you can say, don't worry about it. If I can't find an answer, I can't help you find an answer, I will work with you and see if we can find somebody who can. And not stop there. I think it's so important for people to know that. Because in this country, we so pride ourselves on independence, don't we? Oh, we're so independent. We can get here. We can do whatever we want. We don't need any help from anybody. Oh, is that true? We don't need help from anybody. Those of us who have tried to do things on our own find ourselves bashing up against brick walls all the time. We find ourselves settling for things that we probably would not settle for. This country was built on barn raising, on town hall meetings. We have lost that. Just the recent oh-so landslide has brought people so close together in their pain and in their grief that they have